The United States had been involved in Chile for quite some time. The CIA involvement really began back in 1958. And in 64, the United States helped defeat Allende when he ran for president in 1964. Uh, so in 1970, when Allende was running again, US policy was strongly committed to preventing him from winning. When he won, nevertheless, the US adopted a two-track policy. Track one was massive propaganda campaign, as well as bribing electors not to seat him. When that didn't work, and he was seated overwhelmingly in 1970, then the US adopted the track two policy, which was a military coup. The United States was very open about this. Nixon and Kissinger ordered it. They went through CIA Director Helms, who worked with David Phillips Attlee, who was the CIA station chief in Brazil, and they worked with the factions of the military. The military had long been apolitical and supported the democracy. You have to remember that Chile had been a democracy since 1932, but it was a democracy that was not going to survive Nixon and Kissinger. And so they started working with the coup planners. The U.S. provided arms, the U.S. provided intelligence, the U.S. provided financial aid, and they worked, first of all, to destroy the economy there with certain Chileans, like Agustin Edwards, who owned El Mercurio, the biggest newspaper in Chile, as well as copper interests and Pepsi bottling interests. And he worked with them in order to create an atmosphere of chaos in the country economically. And then when that wasn't enough, then they had the military coup. And so the U.S. was up to its eyeballs in this. But it was part of what was going on, as you suggested, across the world. The U.S. policy in Latin America was dominated by the Mann Doctrine. And the Mann Doctrine said that Latin American governments would be judged not on how they serve the interests of their people, but how they serve the interests of the $9 billion in U.S. investments. And so when the Chileans decided to nationalize under Allende, to nationalize Kennecott Copper and Anaconda and ITT, the U.S. was not happy, and they did not want to allow Chile to become an example for or model for the rest of Latin America or other countries throughout the underdeveloped world. And so the United States came down with an iron fist, and they said it must be a military coup because that's going to send the message to anybody else who wants to follow in Allende's footsteps.